company is desired. And of course, feeling like you're wanted is amazing. But they might not necessarily be that excited for the activity at hand. They just like being part of something. Because they know an activity or event is happening, they suffer from fear of missing out, or FOMO. So they give a premature agreement to the invitation without necessarily the actual intent to follow through. Well, why don't they just say no to begin with, you might be asking? Because to them, giving a flat-out no is too rude. Saying no means you're unfun, and flakers don't want to seem unfun. They want their invitee to feel like their thought to include said flaker is greatly appreciated. Even if they aren't fully committed to go, they want people to believe that they gave all of their efforts towards trying to be present. But it's a load of bullshit! They'll try to give an excuse that steers the blame away from them and frees them from being accountable. I think I just over-explained the definition of excuse. But they trust that their friends are reasonable and forgiving and wouldn't push for any further explanation, so there usually aren't any consequences. Unless, of course, the excuses keep happening. Sorry, I was up late doing work and I slept in. You're unemployed. Sorry, I just remembered my essay's due tomorrow. You dropped out 2 weeks ago. Sorry, I'm broke. You watched Infinity War in theaters 6 times. Sorry, there's 2 millimeters of snow outside and I don't have winter tires. Oh yeah, definitely, no worries. Your safety and inability to drive in such a natural disaster excuses you from missing my birthday. I hope you enjoy Infinity War for the 7th time, you son of a bitch. And then you have the trump card of many flakers who still live at home. Sorry, my mom said no, sad face. And they know how foolproof this is because you can't really argue with anyone's mom. Mothers are the ultimate gatekeepers. They are literally your gateway into existence. Flaking has become so easy in this generation because of technology. We can hide behind the safety of a screen and just become ghosts on command when it benefits us. But the disadvantage here is that if you do decide to flake, you better not be posting on social media about anything else other than lying about sleeping early.
Hello? Go to mouth.
Give me the news. Give me the
Sir? Heal. And I'm on my game. Sir? Cut your phone off.
No, because I'm not using her Wi-Fi. I got my own hotspot.
I ain't turning mine off. You got the line. Oh, good. This.
For you.
Yeah. This is the girl you got. Why won't you drink your bitties? Hmm? Bye. Talking to that. Darling, on his phone. On PS4. Josh, I gotta get off. Alright.
Because you value your health and want a good sleep schedule. Yeah, look, I get it. Sometimes things do come up and you can't make it. sometimes your excuses are sincere, but you need to be careful when people start catching on. People can see patterns and also your Instagram stories. You can't keep living the FOMO life and cry wolf forever. If you really value your relationships, you need to make time for the people you care about, because they've cared enough for you to take time out of their days. And like I've said before in a past video, time is the most valuable currency we have. It's a one-way transaction and there are no refunds. If you end up wasting people's time, they're gonna stop investing in you. And don't confuse flakers for busy people. Actual busy people will tell you ahead of time or upon being asked that they are unavailable. Oh cool, thanks for telling me. Now I know only to reserve 5 seats instead of 6. Flakers will ask you to save a seat for them and then take a nap for the rest of the day. Busy people will tell you, sorry, I have work during the week. Does Saturday work for you? Flakers will have work all week and then tell you they're free anytime. Busy people will have a New Year's resolution to go to the gym 4 times a week, but only manage to go twice a week. Flakers will go once using your guest pass and then never get membership. The sad reality with flakers is that you only know them for a short period of time. They can only flake so long until they fully flake out on their relationships. And what's even more unfortunate is that they don't realize their behavior and blame their friends for not inviting them to hang out anymore. Don't let it get to that. You're probably flaking on them right now to watch this video and then 10 more related videos afterwards. Look, I'll be here when you get back. I can wait. They can't. Go on. He's right. You're a bad friend. It's time to set things straight. Actually, I'm free now. You guys still going out tonight? It's all good, man. Since your mom said you couldn't, we invited her instead. It's me. I'm that friend. I have no friends now. One thing you shouldn't flake on is feeling safe online, and NordVPN will be there for you no matter how much snow is outside. Surf the web, dude, with peace of mind by using my code DOMIX at nordvpn.com/DOMIX for 75% off a 3-year plan plus 1 month for free. Virtual private networks are a great way to protect your privacy and security online, allowing you to browse the net anonymously with no data logging using military-grade encryption. They have thousands of servers in over 60 countries, the software is lightweight and user-friendly, and you can choose wherever in the world you wish to virtually be. I use it all the time whenever I connect to public networks while waiting for flaky friends because I want my privacy to be protected. It's available on desktops, laptops, and mobile devices, of which you can protect up to 6 at once. Open the app, select a country, or choose Quick Connect to take you to the nearest server, and you'll be there in seconds. Easy peasy lemon juice. Try it out, and if you're not happy with it, you have 30 days for your money-back guarantee. Once again, that's nordvpn.com/DOMIX with the code DOMIX for 75% off a 3-year plan, plus 1 extra month for free. I need somebody. As many of you guys know, I was born in Philippines and moved to Canada when I was 7 years old. It wasn't for another 15 years that I would return after I graduated from university. I was 22 and my parents figured it was time we all went back to visit. Now, 15 years away from your homeland can really change you. Although my parents did their best to preserve the culture at home, I kind of just stopped speaking Tagalog. I was able to fully understand it when my parents and other Filipino adults spoke to me, but I ended up just replying in English. I still use a few terms like saying opo to my elders and kain na to tell everyone it's time to eat, and ang bango when I let out a fart. But other than a few phrases, I had a lot of trouble keeping up a conversation if I needed to reply in Tagalog as well. So I was pretty nervous going back, having to meet relatives that I barely remember, catching up with my cousins who were all grown up like me, and just adjusting myself back into the way of life in the Philippines. I think language was the hardest part. When people spoke to me, I knew what words and phrases to reply with, but it didn't feel right coming out of my mouth, so when in doubt, I just ended up speaking English but with a Filipino accent. They knew English well over there. It was considered a second language along with Spanish. Although my relatives were cool with it, I was always worried to speak to strangers. The whole way there, my mom kept warning us, specifically my younger sister and I, since we spoke the least Tagalog, to avoid speaking out loud because if we're in the jeepney and they hear you, they'll know you're not from here and want to kidnap you and hold you for ransom.
So the first week or so, whenever we go out to eat or shop, I have to pretend like I'm mute in fear of my kidneys getting stolen, and just hope my parents, aunts, uncles, and cousins can communicate for me. It wasn't until we went to this one salon that I realized it didn't even matter. My mom and sisters decided to get a mani-pedi and facial treatment, and they extended the invitation to me. My dad was off hanging out with his brothers, so I decided, cool, yeah, let's make me beautiful. So we get there and my mom and my older sister go first. I'm chilling in the lobby, but it was kind of a small and intimate place, so I was still able to speak with my mom and sister along with the employees who were working on them. The two ladies are having a conversation with each other, and then I hear, "Gagawin din yung Koreano?" And I understood what she said right away because, as I mentioned, I could understand Tagalog well, I just had trouble speaking. And at first I didn't realize what they meant because my younger sister and I were the only ones waiting in the lobby, and I got kind of intrigued, like, whoa, there's Koreans here? In Mindoro? And then I realized, oh, they're talking about me. Because although I'm Filipino, I'm on the lighter skinned end of the spectrum, and Filipinos are generally known to be darker skinned. And even though I have small, slanted eyes, I was like, me? Korean? I usually get Chinese or Vietnamese or Thai or whatever, but sure, okay, that's kind of rare. So then I realized it doesn't even matter if I don't reveal my weak communication skills when I already look like I'm not from here and can't blend in with the people. One thing I couldn't get used to was maids. Some relatives that I stayed with had maids in their household, which I didn't even realize were maids right away. Because these were people I haven't seen in 15 years with kids who weren't even around before I left. So when we got to their place and they didn't introduce the girl in the kitchen cooking breakfast, I was like, huh, okay, that maybe they will later. And in the Philippines, the maids and their family usually live with the main family, often in an extension.
not in parallel, bot. You're not in parallel. Like, you're not even in any type of clan. And, like, no one cares. You know, go to these bitches.
Snap your W-2 and file Fed and state for free. Guaranteed. I'm sure most of you have been asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm sure half of you have replied with hot and famous, of course, but later realizing that maybe the world isn't ready for your hotness and that maybe you should reconsider something else. What's worse is that you've probably been asked that very question as early as when you were maybe 5 years old. I remember being 5 and being asked that, and when you were that age, let's be honest, you were probably only exposed to a select few jobs. A police officer, a firefighter, an astronaut, a doctor, a princess. I wanted to be a princess, but I figured the world wasn't ready for that, so I said I wanted to be a teacher. As a kid, I thought teachers were an elite level of humans who possessed infinite knowledge. They just know everything there is to know. I wanted their intelligence. I respected them, and I still do. Well, most anyway. Some do an amazing job at it, while others like to rely on reading mundane overhead projector notes verbatim and having weekly quizzes pertaining to those notes, and you question if there even is an influential teacher present, because what you're actually doing is just regurgitating data based on memory and not actually learning the practicality of the information you're being exposed to. But yeah, I wanted to be a teacher. But looking back, I think it was only because I didn't know there were thousands of other options that would pique my interest. And I think that's the issue of why a lot of us are wondering what we want to do and feel the pressures of possibly not being able to contribute to the society and the world. For a lot of you, your parents might have been a driving factor as to what you've chosen or will choose to be. While some may be the epitome of strict parenting where they try to mold what they want you to become since day one, Asian parents, I'm looking at you, most are generally content with what you do in life, as long as you don't end up being a bum and amounting to nothing despite the privileges and opportunities available to you. And I can vouch for that. See, both of my parents were born and raised in the third world country of Philippines. They both grew up with 8 or so brothers and sisters, so you can assume wealth and luxury weren't aspects of their lives. But once they were adults, my parents knew they had to leave the country in search of a better life for themselves and their future children. I've mentioned before that I lived in Saudi Arabia for a few years, but that was just a stepping stone for moving to Canada. Actually, my parents were deciding between Canada and Australia, and they chose the former. Can you imagine an Aussie Domix? Here's my attempt at offending the Australian accent. Crikey, that bum! A bloody good thing I reckon, mate. Sorry. But yeah, we moved to Canada. And being able to experience the immigration process with them, in retrospect, I can appreciate their efforts for seeking a better lifestyle. And I think a lot of second and third generation kids are just unaware of how good we have it. Our parents literally left the homeland of family and friends, left a lifestyle that they grew up with, to go to another land where they had to start over. A new and different land where they weren't necessarily familiar with the language and culture, but are willing to adapt for a better life for their children. My parents probably had less than half of the privileges I had growing up. As an adult now, I understood why my parents were so strict towards my sisters and I to focus on our studies, because there are way more career opportunities here than there were back in the homeland. It was their way of telling us that if we worked hard enough, we could be successful and live comfortably. Not necessarily become rich, but not have to face the struggles of potential poverty as it was back home. So I understood my parents' concerns when I came home with a bad grade on the test, and they were probably like, shit, did we come all the way here for nothing? A little harsh and exaggerated, but I wouldn't blame them if they actually thought that. A little self-awareness for y'all who think your parents don't love you. I've mentioned before how my parents kind of discouraged my ambition to become an artist, and how we met halfway when they let me study architecture. It seemed unfair at the time, yes, but I understood their perspective and preconceived notion of the starving artist. As excited as I was to design structures, my passion for the field diminished over time, but my fear of disappointing my parents was greater than that. And so I went through my 4-year bachelor's program, graduated, got my degree, and then did jack shit with it. After a while, I realized I needed to find another option.
I felt that my parents would understand if I chose an alternative if I really didn't enjoy what I was doing. I started Nomics as a webcomic series during my 3rd year of university and used it as an outlet for the stress I had from school. Once I graduated, I was fully getting an architecture career to pursue being an animator on YouTube. I'll admit the first couple of paychecks were pretty bad because less than what I earned with my part-time job, which I quit in order to focus on my videos. I had architecture as a plan B even though I studied it for 4 years. My parents were a little concerned with what I was doing since being a YouTuber didn't sound like a normal job to them, and even for some of you watching. Apparently I don't have a real job, so I guess I've just been feeding myself and paying the bills with Monopoly money. On the bright side, at least your mother accepts it as payment. But I was fortunate enough that my parents remained patient with me because I assured them that I'd become successful as long as they gave me time. And they did. After my channel grew a bit, I showed them my earnings and they were like, yeah, okay, you can do what you want. Becoming a YouTuber opened my eyes towards what people can actually do for a living. While traditional jobs still exist, new and unique jobs have flourished with the advances in technology and worldwide network. Tools and information are much more accessible now and allow us to achieve things on our own that may have been more difficult a decade ago. People ask me what school I went to or where I went to learn animation, but the truth is, I'm self-taught. I mean, I've been drawing and keeping my artistic passion intact my whole life, but specifically learning animation was an independent effort. I use Adobe Flash. I know it's Animate now for my animations, and so I looked up tutorials on how to use the software. Combined with the knowledge I got from friends who were already more experienced than I, animating became easier the more I did it. If you look back and compare the quality of my first few videos to my current, you can tell that there's been improvement, or at least I like to believe so. Anyway, my point is that it's okay to not know what you want to be when you grow up, and if you're already an adult, it's still okay to be unsure, as long as you have the drive to do something, anything. I wasn't even sure what I wanted to do for a living until I was already doing it. I did consider being an animator as an adolescent because of all the cartoons and anime that I watched, but I would have never guessed I'd end up here, being a full-time YouTuber. Despite having studied something completely different from animation, I probably wouldn't go back and tell my 5-year-old self to change my history. Despite all the struggles, I think it was necessary to make me who I am today. A bloody wanker. Actually, as a kid, what I really wanted to be when I grew up was become a Super Saiyan, which you can't do unless you're a normal Saiyan first, which you can't really work towards and can only be passed down by bloodline. Oh. But at least I can enjoy watching the sequel series of my childhood anime, Dragon Ball Super. And you can as well. Ad-free, professionally subbed, and in full HD if you head over to crunchyroll.com/domics, link in the description, and trying a premium membership for 30 days. You'll be able to find tons of other anime, manga, and drama titles as well, if overpowered humans and aliens pummeling each other ain't your thing. I hear Yuri on Ice is getting epic, so maybe I'll give that a shot. Again, that's crunchyroll.com/domics. Link below. Enjoy!
So, it's your friend's birthday. How do you find the perfect gift? Download the Amazon app and let it find you. Just seen your mom reading that book your friend's been talking about? Scan the barcode, buy it with one click, and you'll get regular delivery updates. The Amazon app. What are you looking for?
Before I talk about prison, before I talk about school, I just want to let you guys know that this video has been sponsored by Verve, home to your favorite shows and channels. Go to verve.co/domics, link below, and be granted a 30-day trial of premium membership. Stick around until the end of the video for an exciting announcement. You're welcome. Oh boy, it's that time again. Back to school! He, I cannot contain my excitement for a new year of discoveries about the world and myself. Hey, didn't you graduate 6 years ago? Can a man not wish to be young again? Yes, I've been done with school for a while now, and while being an adult definitely has its perks, yes, may I have 4 dozen donuts, please? Having a party later, huh? No, I am not. I still remember and miss the simple and carefree days as a kid.
Most of you watching will probably be starting a new school year soon, and some of you have graduated and are advancing on to the next tier of education. And I'm aware other students around the world start at different times in the year, so I apologize if this one's too late or too early for you. You might be groaning at the fact that you have to go back to doing homework, putting up with boring lectures, being forced to socialize with undesirable people, but you may also be looking forward to making new friends, seeing old ones, learning something new, all sorts of things. Try not to expect it as a repeat of the previous year. That's kinda lame. Make it one with new opportunities. Do things differently. Also, for your first day back, if you plan on stressing over what to wear because you're worried about how people will think of you, don't. I guess it's easier said than done because some of us are more insecure than others, but let me tell you that nobody really cares. And those that do care are nobodies. That's why the statement makes sense. I mean, maintain hygiene. First impressions aren't only limited to the clothes you wear, but do you think I remember what anyone wore on the first day of class when I was 15? Hell no, why would I waste storage in my memory for that? I don't even remember what I wore. There is no legacy to it. But if you want to look good just for yourself, who am I to stand in the way of you doing you? I tell this to people all the time, having gone through my years of education. School isn't for everyone. I realize that for a lot of people, they've simply been told that school is important and mandatory, and they continue living with that mindset without finding truth in it for themselves. How many of you guys, show of hands, actually wait, no, I can't see you, but how many of you are in college or university just because your parents told you it's the only way to get a job? And how many of you who chose not to go to post-secondary education get heavy judgment from peers when they find out you're not in school? And how many of those people choke because they have trouble eating their words when you prove yourself to them? School isn't for everyone. Yeah, elementary, junior, and high school definitely builds your foundation as an adolescent, but after that, I think you should be free to choose how you become an adult. I mean, most information learned at school is out there in libraries, and does anyone even go to libraries? Okay, the internet, readily accessible for anyone willing to teach themselves. I did not go to school for animation, and if I realized sooner how much more fun it was, I would have either dropped out or switched programs. I still have ways to go in improving my skill, but everything I've learned was through friends and the internet. When I say school isn't for everyone, I mean that as long as you have some sort of drive for knowledge to improve yourself and grow as a person, then it doesn't really matter which direction you go. School is simply a platform of which these things can take place, but you can't teach someone who's not willing to learn. And I get it, the public schooling structure can be pretty skewed. All of you have your own developed interests, and the education system generally tries to examine you on your ability to perform in multiple subjects that you may not equally find interesting, therefore making your grade point average a flawed representation of how intelligent you actually are. It discouraged me at first when I just couldn't do well in some of my courses. Was I just stupid? I mean, I tried my best. I wouldn't say I struggled in school. Thanks, Kuman. But at some point, I just came to the realization that maybe I just suck at physics.
Oh hey, same here.
I know, right? Oh. And that's perfectly okay. There's always room to learn and improve. And there's always room to accept that you're just bad at something. We're all stupid in different aspects and categories. What's not okay, though, is to claim to be incapable without first trying. You guys will be discovering more about your strengths. Strengths. I hate that word. Your non-weaknesses in these coming years. And as tough as it may seem, make the best of it because you'll only get to experience it once. If you're still in elementary school, I'd say kick back, have a popsicle, enjoy yourself for now. Your homework consists of simple math and reading books. When you hear the adults telling you to enjoy being a kid while you still can, believe them. Sure, you could still be a kid at heart when you're an adult, but it's not the same carefree kind as what you guys are experiencing now. I really miss it. And it's a shame when I see some of you in such a hurry to be adults. Hey kid, what's the rush?
I want to pay taxes.
What the fuck? High school students, my tip for you,
Just survive. I'm serious. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. High school will suck for a lot of you. You may meet a few great people and make a few endearing memories, but you can't really credit high school for it. High school is what you make it to be. Just do your best in your classes and accept that those 4 years are merely a time for you to discover yourself and what kind of adult you want to be. What a lot of you consider achievements don't really carry over into adulthood. Trust me, no one really cares that you scored that one touchdown back in 10th grade. Make friends with who you feel comfortable with, and not with people who are your friends under condition. And by that, I mean you're only friends as long as you are providing them with a certain benefit of some sort. Those aren't friends, okay? Those are just convenient acquaintances that you just happen to see on a daily basis. But even if you make good friends, you must accept the possibility of drifting apart with some of them after graduation. It's not necessarily anyone's fault. It's sad, but people just grow, sometimes apart and on their own paths. College and university students. Okay, come here. Come a little closer. Turn the volume up. Balance your time. School, work, relationships, hobbies, whatever things you wish to be involved in, make sure you keep a balance between all of them. Because no matter what, stress will find its way to throw you off. And the more balanced you are, the harder it'll be to follow. If there's too much on your plate, be prepared to sacrifice some things. In the 4 years I was in university, I gave up a lot of my hobbies. Besides building plans, site elevations, and cross-sections of parapets. By the way, this is called a parapet, and yes, that's one thing I learned from my years in architecture. I didn't really draw any personal art. I also stopped watching anime, and I couldn't really play too many video games. Maybe that's why I lost my passion for architecture. Or maybe it was just the intensity of the program. I realized those things were a big part of who I was, and I couldn't bear to fully immerse myself in a career where those were absent. And yeah, some of you guys on this channel might be new and not know that I studied architecture, but obviously I settled on a different path. Your experiences in these years will likely be the most memorable. This isn't just high school part 2, but now you don't live at home. This isn't just high school, but you get to pay for courses that you like. This isn't just busy work until you're done and all of a sudden you're ready for the world. This is one of the ways you enter adulthood and join the rest of us who have been molded by our own unique experiences. Experiences ranging from sweet to bitter. Experiences that make you think, if that never happened to me, I wouldn't be who I am today. And if you're not going to school or taking a year off for a breather, earning some money, maybe travel, or even if you're going straight into the working field, that's fine too. It's fine. Everything's fine. Why did I even make this video? I just want to tell you guys to find enjoyment in the time you have while you have it. I'm not telling you to live every
That was
day
fire.
as if it was your last. Goodness.
It's a. I get time to the pod drop. It's a.
No, that sounds exhausting and subjective. Does anyone really try to live by that? All I'm saying is, as long as you use that time to at least make something of yourself and discover more of what goals you want to achieve in your life, then it's not wasting time. But with that said, you also can't just
Doing
find a
over
way
SMG
to
any
follow
day
your
it'll
dreams.
beat.
You hear that advice a lot, but in reality it's very unsustainable for everyone to do so. It might be better to say follow your dreams, but not off a cliff. As in, chase your dreams, but be mindful of where it leads you and think things through before deciding to make a leap. Everyone's kinda in a hurry to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their life, but understand that you have the rest of your life to figure it out. Even right now, a lot of you adults probably have jobs that you've been in for years, but still, something deep inside your mind is telling you, this isn't it. The search isn't over. You may be comfortable with